My name is Tiza Suruke. I was born in Francistown. I'm a sibling of three. I'm actually the middle child of the three. I have an older sister and a younger brother. I went to, of course, primary school. Well, of course, pre-primary, then primary school in Francistown. Then I completed my primary school in Kosovo, in a place called Sopan. And I then did my initial part of secondary school in Zimbabwe. Francistown, Komotespe. Thereafter, I went to University of Botswana, and I dropped out after the first year, computer studies.
Tiza has always been a go-getter. When growing up, he was like one kind of a little boy. He's always had, views, like different views about different things, and he was very, when he wants to do something, he will make sure it's done. Abaya University, and obviously go university. He was doing quite well, and then he got into internship or ICL, and that was the beginning of things. After 3 months, when I thought he was going back to school, that's when he told me, he's not going back to the university. It was very difficult because my mother, as being a parent, it was something that was very disappointing. But like I said, Tiza being Tiza, he just told us that that's what he wanted to do. So we had no choice, because the hella, Hamotan and you are away from Gaborone. There's nothing much you can do. So we ended up discussing about it and just, accepting the fact that it's not that, who makes it in life goes through university.
I think the biggest thing was that I wanted to do the best that I could in anything develop interest most on. And the reason for that is because I grew up as an individual I'd get bored very easily in terms of ideas and so forth and interest. So that would of course affect my ambitions as a young person. So it was very, I'd say, in summary, my biggest interest or my biggest thing was achieving whatever it is I decided I did do, and succeeding in it, and I think that really defined my childhood. We have two private institutions, tertiary institutions. The first being IAS, Aviation Academy, and IAS in essence trains pilots, and it's the first flight school in Botswana, especially to actually train commercial pilot licenses. In our 2 years we've achieved quite a bit, and we recently received the first Southern African certificate on a training standard that is issued by the International Civil Aviation Organization. So that was a very great milestone for us as a young institution, and for us to achieve this, despite us being probably the youngest flight school in the region, in the whole of SADC. EAT, as I said, stands for Entrepreneurial Agriculture Techniques, and that's defined in this manner. We looked at again, this training bigger numbers of students compared to the flight school, and our question from the onset was, okay, if we train students, what will they do when they graduate? We didn't want them to go pile up at an internship office and so forth, to be government's problem or somebody else's problem again. after being educated. So our expectation was for us to be able to educate in a way that would encourage self-sustenance. Okay, and of course entrepreneurship, because that's really what that's really what I do well, as far as I'm concerned anyway. So so what we did was we developed a concept called EAT, and the idea was based on the sustainability of us needing to eat, because that's what we all do. You know, we get up and before you go to bed, you've eaten at least once. So that shows you, that defines a need of a customer in essence. So we looked at that and realized, okay, but agriculture isn't really growing in Botswana, or isn't really sustainable in Botswana, and that wasn't because of the lack of a customer or a market. It really boiled down to the entrepreneur, or the person, the farmer in essence. Air is our air charter company. It's based in Maroon. It's been in operation since 2010. Last August it had 3 aircraft, and now it has 7 airplanes, and it provides scenic flying to a lot of the tourists in Maroon. Scenic flying, as well as charter flights to your Limpopo regions, your Tuli blocks, Gaborone, as well as I'd say the rest of the Southern African continent. So we provide charter services in that. It also is the current the biggest employer of our recently graduated pilots in the Delta. Well, the idea of business really didn't start from when I decided to do something about it. I'd say the principle of or the spirit of entrepreneurship is something that is usually embedded in a lot of us. The only difference, I think, is who decides to do something about it and who doesn't. So I'd say the trigger was, or the spark was as I was working for this company, AT, in the sense that I found a lot of opportunity in terms of where we could be or where we could go as a company, but I found that the leadership at the time didn't see these opportunities, and as an entrepreneur, it's very frustrating. And I don't think it's limited to entrepreneurs. I think it actually cuts across all areas of interest. If you're a person who's an optimist and sees opportunity and wants to do something about it, you'll often be very frustrated in the confinements of whatever it is you do. So it's not limited to entrepreneurship. But for me, as an entrepreneur, it was that just that frustration of not being able not being given an opportunity to make a difference to the company that I worked for, because as I had the corporate pride of getting the company that I worked for to higher places, and unfortunately, those who are above you feel a little threatened and suppress your efforts. So for me, I think it was really the frustration and the observation of opportunity that exists in Botswana. The principle of time, and it's not limited to entrepreneurs or the initial part of entrepreneurship, or the initial part of doing business, or anything for that matter. Because time will always be there, in the sense that in terms of the future. So and as I say, the return thing could be either financial or emotional, So as to whether you say leisure or it still falls under the principle of emotion, because it's how that makes you feel in terms of your return. I starting my businesses, had to focus a lot in terms of financial return, in terms of financial investment. So I think more of us Botswana meeting 2 p.m. Then Matabahora 3, and they've lost you that time. They've lost you that opportunity in something else. So in terms of time and the use of it, I would say I maximized my time from the first business, and that's not something then I maintain it because it's required in terms of how we can meet our targets. One piece of advice. There's no one piece of advice that I could give somebody. I think it's important to understand that entrepreneurship is not easy, but it certainly isn't impossible. It's very rewarding at the same time, and I think if you manage your expectations well, I think you'll make a better entrepreneur, because you'll be able to define success in the small achievements that you actually pan out towards the bigger picture. So you have to be very, very resilient, as I've said. You must, wherever possible, network with those who are willing to impart knowledge onto others. I believe there's very many of those. Entrepreneurs that are actually willing to impart some knowledge onto others, to encourage others. But it's very, very important to focus also on your plans. Conceptualize whatever it is. Once you've conceptualized your idea, and once you realize that that's what you want to do, start applying a lot of principles of value to your solution. It's often said that there's a saying that don't fix what isn't broken.